Hello, everyone, and welcome to We Should Talk. What a great week. This week we're going to talk about leadership. Leadership is one of those, it's not vague at all, but it's such a tough little concept to grab hold of because there's so much to say about leadership. There's so much that people have to say about leadership. Every person has their own little definition on what they think about leadership. And you actually have leadership books and a whole section on leadership that you can actually start reading and start looking at. If you walk into Kumbuka, then there's a whole section just on Christian leadership. And in step with all of that, we're having some leadership discussions. And with me is Rina. Hello, Rina. Like Rina, you can come a bit closer to your microphone when you speak, but you can be relaxed as we keep on going. This is this your first time in a podcast?
Yes, it's definitely my first time.
Definitely, my first time. And so Rina is actually going to ask us some questions, as always. Evert also joining. Ask us some leadership questions, and this is actually in preparation for a theologic paper that she must write on biblical leadership. And so when we talk about biblical leadership, we have to talk about Jesus, right? We have to talk about Jesus. But let's delay. Let's delay. We'll talk on Jesus.
You know what's interesting is like usually when we use the word leadership, the first thing is not to think about Jesus.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And just the fact that you're saying like we have to talk about biblical leadership, you're like, wow, what?
Yeah.
What are you saying?
Isn't that interesting that I have to discriminate between leadership versus biblical leadership? Yeah. You know, like, oh, here's a book and it's going to teach me how to be a leader. Oh, you mean biblical? Oh, you mean like Christian leader? Okay, no, sorry, that's a different thing. We've got different principles on how to lead, follow, and be led. All right. And so, for some portion of this, Rina, you just guide us with some of the questions you have. I don't know if we're going to answer all of the questions correctly. I don't know if we're going to get it at all. Maybe we
get an A.
Yeah, maybe we completely fail. maybe we don't know what leadership is. Maybe always good to go think how, first of all, we can be led. So can I be a follower? And then, before I lead others, how do I lead them? Because there's this question that people sometimes ask. They would say, give me an example of a good leader. And I always used to just say Hitler, like Stalin. Okay, it's a bit, obviously it's a...
Maybe a good example of propaganda,
Yeah. But think about the idea that somebody that led so many people had to be good at something. Evil in their heart, fair enough, but good at something. So leadership is an interesting thing because technically leadership is not a black and a white thing. Meaning, leadership isn't good or evil. Leadership can be used for good or evil. So, there's a good leader. But he's a bad person. Yeah, but he's still a good leader. Leadership is just a tool. We have many of these things in life. Money is not evil or good. Money it's a gray. It doesn't matter. It brings good or it could bring evil, but it's actually quite neutral, right? Yeah. Like this table. This table is not evil, but it's also not particularly holy. Couple of holes in it, but it's not holy.
Like my pants, holy pants.
Yes, I've got some holy pants on today. Yeah. All right, Rina, fire away. Give us your questions.
Okay, so the first question I would like to ask is in terms of how to think like a leader. More specifically towards leadership is service. So the question is, how would you help someone that's performance driven and kind of as a Martha mentality to understand servant leadership without pushing them further into a performance rut?
That is a very, very loaded question. Rina. It's like very, very loaded. Okay, so first let's just reflect on the Martha Mary story narrative in the Bible, and maybe we can take from that. And your let me just make sure of your heading. You're talking about how to think like a leader, but specifically in service to others.
Yeah.
How to
So this is biblical leadership that Jesus demonstrated. Like a leader is someone that serves other people. It's different from worldly leadership where we think in terms of success and status, where it's actually being humble and people follow that example.
Okay, awesome. And so then you're talking about somebody that is performance driven and how to guide that person without letting them accentuate their performance drivenness.
Yeah.
In the story of Mary and Martha, Jesus actually came. It was just after that he was telling that story of the Samaritan story, the Good Samaritan, and they were traveling. This you find in Luke, the book of Luke, 10, Luke 10. And they come to a house, and this lady invites them in, Martha. And they come in. I'm guessing it's Jesus with a bunch of other people, and they're coming into Martha's house. And as any, I almost want to say, as any good woman, but as any modern woman, as I know my mom, I know my wife. If people rock up here, immediately she starts thinking, where are they going to sit? What are they going to eat? Does anybody want coffee? Let me take the coffee orders. Anybody? How do you drink your coffee? Milk, sugar, okay, lekker. Listen, sorry, please don't go into that bathroom because that's the kids' bathroom. It's a bit dirty. Use that bathroom. And if you're outside, remember the swimming pool is open, so all of the kids. And so my wife is running around, and she's got her own boys, and she's got her own things to organize. And Martha is busy. And everyone else is with Jesus and chilling out and having conversation and enjoying it. And so the modern equivalent of you guys coming to visit me, and I'm sitting with you, I'm drinking coffee, you guys are drinking coffee, and my wife is cleaning and she's making sure. And at some stage, Martha comes to Jesus and she asks him, she actually, it's not so much a question, it's more an accusation, saying, I'm clearly busy with everything. Are you noticing this sister of mine? Are you noticing how she's not helping? This is not a good thing. Jesus, tell her to come and help. And then Jesus has this absolutely miraculous way of speaking. He says, Martha, he actually repeats it, Martha, Martha, there are many things that make you anxious. There are many things that make you afraid. There are many things that you are busy with. But there's only one thing that actually matters. And your sister has chosen the better thing. Whoa. And so what Jesus does in that moment is he says, the relationship with me, talking, spending time with me, is of a higher value than running around and making sure everyone is comfortable. Okay, so now you're asking me, what do I do with somebody that is so performance driven, so busy making sure everything works? I want to use a modern equivalent of this. Imagine somebody in church, comes to church really early, right? They get there, like in our church, you have to set up everything before. So they get there really early, they get the flags out, and they put the flags out, and they come and get all of the cups ready and start making the coffee, and people are, and this person is alone. And no one has rocked up yet. And so they get into the hall, they start sweeping the hall, and it's, the sweat is dripping from their brow, and the first person arrives, and they're like, hey, listen, okay, cool, so would you take this and move that? And the person is like, hey, just, you haven't seen me in 2 weeks.
Prayer, bro.
You haven't seen me in 2 weeks. Come and greet me. Come and say hi. We'll come and, no, we'll talk later. We'll talk after the service. No talk. Talk now. Oh, but have you, it's it's my birthday. Have you said happy birthday? Have you? Oh, sorry, I haven't said happy birthday yet. But listen, we need to get all of this stuff done. Otherwise, church can't start. Otherwise, church can't start. What is church? Is church a building? Is church what is church? Church is people, and the first person you met that morning, you couldn't have time for. You missed church. I didn't miss church. You missed church. That's the modern equivalent of this story. How do you help someone that's there? I guess for myself, because I am very task driven. I am a person, me personally, I'm very task orientated, work mode, get stuff done. Me, Heinu, I always forget about people. I'm that guy that when I message you, I forget to say hello.
Yeah.
I just go, Evert,
Do this.
do this.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't spoken in 2 days. Like, oh, sorry. Hello. How are you? Lekker brew. Listen. So I know this is me.
Yeah.
I would, if somebody did it to me, I would want them to remind me of the value of people and the value of relationship above the tasks. So if I was in the correct and I'm helping someone out of the rut of performance, is, hey, just for a moment, stop performing. Stop performing for a moment. You have to rest. Remember, Jesus slept. Jesus did rest. Remember, Jesus didn't fill his evenings. He was with people.
They didn't try and do like the right thing, you know.
Yeah.
I just want to like elaborate on what you're saying in the sense of, I think there can be different contexts or like situations. You can get like from an organizational perspective, but there's also, let's say, someone personally, because if we say like performance, performing towards, what are they performing towards, you know? So some people, they perform for a better relationship with God, or some people perform to be better in what they do in their work. That makes sense. So they try and measure up towards that. Now, I think from my experience, how I've been helped with the performance is that from a, let's say, organizational perspective, because I want to, like, we usually say this, culture eats strategy for breakfast. So we can be like, yes, I'm going to try, let's say I'm a church and this is our goal. But if people place more focus on, or they place more value on what they are focusing on. So there's a difference between vision. Vision is the why. And now when we direct our focus, what are we going to focus on to achieve the vision? And sometimes we get so caught up in what we are focusing on that, yes, people is our primary, let's say, focused. My primary value is people, but the culture is, you better make your numbers. You better have like income, like especially from a church perspective, like the church needs income, so we better need numbers so that we can get income. And then that becomes a culture, and everybody starts working in performance mode, you know, like I'm measured by this and this and this, and I'm measured by this. I'm not measured by who I am as a person. You know, my character is not important, you know, and I think from my experience, I think working under Hainu, I've experienced where it's more character focused. And I think that is a good way in how we can lead people in that struggle with performance, is to, as Hainu said, first focus on sitting still. You know, like first focusing on where are you? Who are you? Why are you? You know, those type of things before I bombard you with what I'm expecting from you. That makes sense. Because what I'm expecting of you, you're not going to necessarily be effective in that if you are not healthy as a person. And I think that is maybe a way of how we can serve and lead people is character development. Like for them to understand their identity and their purpose. That makes sense. And giving direction. I think from a personal point, it's definitely directing people to Jesus, directing them to the leader, the ultimate leader. But he's also the healer. He's also the one that saves. He's also the one that is God. And when people start moving from that perspective, when I can serve someone to help them see God's plan over their life, see God's word over their life, and to function from that space, then we start dealing with that performance thing. But Rina, I want to ask you, like, if you could answer this question, what would you say?
So what I would say is that if I had to lead someone that was performance driven, I would always push them more into relationship. So the focus would be not on getting the task done, because they're already there. They want to do the job. They want to get it done. I would push them more into relationship with Jesus, because the performance driven thing is already something that is showing that there's a way that they want to please God, and they need to realize that they are already acceptable to God just the way they are. Like Martha was just like, Jesus was just like, come and sit with me. You don't have to do anything. I just want you. I don't want your works. So I would definitely try and guide someone towards more relationship with Jesus than putting pressure on them to get the job done.
It does reveal in a big way how Martha saw Jesus versus how Mary saw Jesus. If your boss came to visit you, what would you do? You would do everything right. You would try to dress, you put your makeup on, you would try to impress the boss. If your dad came to visit you, what would you do? I would want to be with my dad. I would have dirty clothes on. I was just like, okay, listen, Dad, I don't look good, but I want to be with you. I want to spend time with you. So Mary saw Jesus as somebody worth spending time with, no matter where she is. Martha might have. It's maybe even as deep as identity.
Yeah.
You can go to the next question.
So the next, sorry, Evan?
On that, you were also asking the question, like, how to think like a leader, And I think from this conversation, like, what I see is that thinking like a leader is not thinking about yourself and what we need to achieve. It's more about thinking about the people and the influence you have on people.
Yeah.
John Maxwell, he's like, that's like his main thing that he teaches is that you are a leader because you have influence. That makes sense. And I think that is something, first thing is to recognize, what is the influence I have? What is that influence that I can have on people? And thinking about a leader, you were saying like serving them, servant leadership. Which means that how can I serve someone so that they can like be better, How can I serve someone to actually surpass who I am? That makes sense. I think that should be definitely part of our goals. A good example is that, before we go to the next one, the good example is we have this friend called Blaze. He's a tennis player and a coach, quite good. But he is but he has been coaching so much. So how it works is if you play less and you coach more, your playing goes a bit down, because you actually have to play and like practice yourself. And he was actually playing the finals at his tennis club against a teenager he is coaching. And that teenager beat him. And it shows you actually something about leadership.
Yeah.
It shows you something about his ability to coach. I think thinking about leadership, to think like leaders, to think about the people and where they are and where's God taking them.
So the second question I have is, how will you guide someone that's lazy or reluctant to serve or lead to do so? Not pushing them, but building them up.
That's
or
a very
guiding them, sorry.
Straight to jail.
Yeah,
straight to jail.
Straight to jail.
guiding them.
Please do not collect at start. Straight to jail. I think there's two different ways. If I have somebody that I'm leading as a boss, so a staff member, laziness is not tolerated, and so for me, there's a strong talking to get yourself going, get yourself in line, get yourself, like a hard. But that's not the way leadership works in the world. It's easy when you're a boss because you are. Somebody has you are how do you say, you are placed as a leader above them. They didn't choose to follow you. That's you are their boss, so they must listen to you. But leadership in life doesn't work that way. People can choose if they want to listen to you. People can choose if they want to take your guidance. And so in that sense, I would be very careful to be an authoritarian. You must listen to me right now. I speak the loudest. I am, listen to me. I don't think that works. I don't think people work that way. I definitely don't.
Yeah.
When people speak to me in that sense, then because I can choose who I want to follow, I'm not going to follow that guy.
Yeah.
I will follow somebody that guides me by speaking my language, and I don't mean I don't mean like English Afrikaans. I mean intrigues me, makes me like. I like people that are funny. I like people that are intriguing. I like people that actually have me in mind when they want to guide me, when they want to lead me. Let me give you an example. We went to Marupeng, which is this place outside of Pretoria, the place where
Sounds like a religion.
yeah, it probably could be.
Yeah.
It's there where the cradle of humankind is, and so it's a place. Essentially, there's a bunch of caves there. They've got a museum there. A bunch of bones were found, and they take you on this tour. We went to this tour. We went as a group, and we stood there. And I was already kind of like reluctant. I was already kind of like, I don't know. The whole evolution and, missing link Neanderthal discussion is already kind of doesn't always sit with me in terms of having discussions about it. And so I'm kind of already uncomfortable, and the guy leading our group is boring, but like really boring, and he's telling this and I look over to another group coming down the road, and they are all happy, and people are talking, and there's laughter, and I can see that whatever's happening over there is really much more entertaining than what's happening over here. And I kind of feel like lazy, and I kind of feel like, I don't know. And I whisper to my wife, I'm like, listen, let's just disappear from this group. Let's just ditch them. And let's go to that group. And we get to the other group. And the reason why it's different there is the person leading the group is open, funny, non-judgy. So if you don't believe in what he says, then he's like, okay, well, listen, this is what I've been taught to say. This is how we're going to guide this. And it was a completely different thing. I was willing to follow this guy who was much younger, by the way, who was from a different race, from a different culture, spoke a different language. And I could gladly follow. I could gladly, because he was guiding me on my terms in some sense. Now, I don't think leadership is always about guiding on your terms. That's definitely not a good definition. But the worst way to do it is to force leadership on people, or to lead people the way that you want to be led. It's not going to work because you don't have them in mind. That's what I would say.
Good. Gilbert, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think actually in our resources from Leadership 215, I love this saying. It says, "Great leaders lead without a position or title." And I think that is quite like impactful in the sense of someone that leads someone else. They know they're a leader, they already know. And I think like I totally agree with like laziness. Like if you're not willing to put in the work, why are you here? Like what's happening? And it comes for me back to that character thing. Your character can't sustain what you are supposed to do, So there's a character thing that we focus on. But with that, I think like clear communication is key. Like communication, being clear, bringing people together. Like if you lead a whole team, you bring people together and make sure we are all on the same page. We know what we are working for. And if I should lead a team like that, I would make sure that communication is clear, that people know what they should be doing. And because you can obviously measure, unfortunately, you have to measure it between job performance and character. You can't you know what I mean? There is a space where, hey, like this is now like the 5th time we've asked you to do something, or this is what was expected from you. We have clearly communicated it, but it's not been done. And there has been discussions about it, and it keeps on doing. Then you're asking this question, okay, maybe the position you're having shouldn't be here, but we can still focus on the character. We can still focus on that person instead of giving them something they can't do. That makes sense. And I think part of leadership is to identify the capacity people have. If that makes sense. Yeah.
I like the communication part that you've mentioned.
Yeah.
And again, what I hear is relationship with the person. So maybe if the person is reluctant to serve, asking them, but why? And then also setting an example. If the person is lazy, with guidance, I would think it's like more walking with the person than in front of the person. It's like almost taking their hand and saying, but this is how we do it. Not forcing it on them and just telling them what to do, but doing it with them. And then they can learn from that example.
Yeah. The thing is, like, if you start a job, like, there is expectations. You already know that is going to be expected from a job perspective, So it's a whole thing of, technically what is happening is your time is being bought. Okay, so the company buys your time to use it, like, according to this 1, 2, 3, and 4.